during the recording, now would be a good time to just mute your camera. We did just get started, and my name is Rosemary Jane, and we are doing a session together today. I have took a quick hop and a step back into a role that I loved. For those of you who don't know me or have not had the pleasure to meet, I am from the year 2007 through today. Here's a quick snapshot of my time in education. I started out as a primary teacher. I ended up turning to an ITM admin, and then during the pandemic, we became curriculum team admins. But in October, really September, October of this year, I went back to my first love, which was teaching kindergarten. And so in addition to that role, just like many of you, I have lots of other roles: mom, Mimi, also known as grandma. They don't call me grandma though. Friend, advocate, believer, learner, extrovert, ENFP, traveler, foodie, drinky, beach bum, nerd, and just like you, so many more things. So one of the things that I really loved that I got to do in my former role was meet all kinds of amazing teachers all around the district. And during the pandemic, I started doing something called Teacher Talks. And so what had happened was I just started having the PD sessions just like this one today. And I started recording them during the pandemic, and I just recorded everything and just started throwing it up on YouTube because I get the same request over and over again, or the same question over and over again. So it was just all of my PD sessions recorded. Well, then that was too much. They were too long, and I started doing these 5-minute things. And those were great, and it was working out well, lots of good feedback. But then what I found was it wasn't really me sharing what I knew that really made a big difference for you all. It was seeing what other teachers were doing. So I'm really pleased and proud to get to be one of you now. I'm a teacher again. I really am enjoying my role, but I want to take a look back at some of the teachers that I got to highlight during that year. And interestingly enough, I went ahead and highlighted myself once earlier this month. Really what I was highlighting was the Newport Aquarium, but I was the teacher in that video. So on my YouTube channel, if you don't already follow it, you can. I'll give you the link to that today. I have a bunch of playlists, and in my playlists, there is one playlist called Teacher Talks. And so today's session, instead of watching a video, we're not gonna watch a video together. I'm going to go through each one of these Teacher Talks live videos. And I'm going to start with the first one that I made, going back almost a year now through the current ones. And I might hop around out of order. But the first one that I did was with, her name is Clarissa Quinones. I always mispronounce her name a little bit. I'm so sorry. And that was her virtual classroom. Clarissa shared how she creates her virtual classroom. Those are also now referred to as the Bitmoji classrooms. And I sat down with her, and at the time, Ashley Badgett, who at the time Clarissa was in our Blended Learning Academy, and she shared how she uses a virtual classroom or Bitmoji classroom as a home base in her Schoology course. And so in this video, which you could watch later, Clarissa takes us through how she set up her virtual classroom, and she shares with us, a little further into it, she shares with us everything from how she set it up as far as like content she put on there, but she shows you like how to build the virtual classroom at a really quick glance, like how to set the background, to get a floor and a wall, how she finds items for the virtual classroom through free Google image searches and transparent images, and how she lays that together. So Clarissa kind of shows, and this video is only 7 minutes long, a little bit about her process and how she put together that virtual classroom.
I just resize it.
More importantly, besides showing you how she made it, she shows you what kind of content she put in there. And so Clarissa's content is awesome. It's engaging. It's visually appealing for her students. And Clarissa's done so much more since then. Her courses are super visual. I haven't seen them since I left my admin role, but even then she had already seriously leveled up with what she was doing. And so in this video, Teacher Talks, my virtual classroom, interactive visuals embedded in Schoology, Clarissa shows you how she made it, and I can tell you anything you want about how to do something like this. Better yet, how you can not have to create it from scratch, where some great resources are if you want to pull them in, and then how you can embed it in Schoology to make it all work together as as a digital home base. The next one we're going to look at is a teacher, and let me get out of full screen. I think we're going to take a look at a teacher who, another awesome teacher. Second one that I featured in this, her name is Carrie Carpenter. No, Carrie, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm mixing up my teachers' names. Carrie,
Hey
McCarthy, Carrie McCarthy. And Carrie, what she did in her Schoology course was she embedded Google Forms and slides into the course. I really like that she did the forms because at the time during the pandemic, now this was back before students had their take-home devices. And so her students very often were reliant upon cell phones and whatever they could to get in, logging in. They were also using a lot of shared devices. So maybe one sibling had a device or a parent had a device they could use. If all 2, 3, 4, 5 kids at home were sharing the same device. And so Carrie just creatively and simply added in Google Forms, but again, embedded within Schoology so that her students could answer directly in without having to go through a lot of extra steps. So she could email them the link, she could text them the link if needed, and it would all work for her. So Carrie used embedded Google Forms. I started using embedded Google Forms after seeing Carrie's example, and it's Carrie McCarthy. I did say the wrong name earlier. I started using them for like wellness checks, like how are you feeling today, or things like that. And Google Forms are just a simple way to quickly add something to your course that can kind of spice it up. That's Carrie McCarthy. And embedding Google Forms. And so hers was that she was adapting her Schoology course by integrating those forms. Another teacher that I got to sit down with and talk with, she walked and talked us through. She's a reading specialist, and she showed us how she takes course content from in her role as a reading specialist, and she works together with her cooperating teacher. They co-administer a course, and then she can add her content. What I liked about what Lindsay did was that she made her own groups in there. She put out information for the general class, so she's a reading specialist supporting a full-time classroom teacher. And so she put her content in there so that all students could have access to maybe like tier 1 reading interventions. But then she could also do groups through assigning folders to a group or specific work. And she shows you how she did that with the teacher she was working with. She also talked about like problem of the day. I don't think it was a math problem. I believe it was like a reading problem of the day, and it was fixing grammar. But she showed how she went in and assigned things and graded. And so this was Lindsay Lenoff, and she is a reading specialist. So what the power of this one was really that co-administration of courses to share the work. So adding content and cooperating with the general education teacher. And so that's a great example of a co-administered course that used differentiation across the board. So she was a lot of fun to highlight as well. Oh, let's see who's next on this list. Carrie, Lindsay, Drew Warndorf. Drew showed us how she could use with her team the power of groups. Again, this was an alternate during the first phase of the pandemic at the end of the year with remote learning, but how that group was something that her entire grade level team shared. So you might remember that I have shared with you that you can all co-administer or co-own your homerooms in Schoology. That's a great thing that you can do. I would like to highlight Drew Warndorf. Sorry, I didn't want the sound on. That's a great thing that you can do, co-administer your homeroom course. But the other thing you can do is create a group. Now, I've seen it across the district at different schools where they might even have a group for a whole intermediate team, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. So all the intermediate kids go into that group. Some buildings do a whole group for all of the library students. So the whole building is in one group for library instead of going into each of their library courses. Groups are a really flexible way for teachers to collaborate on content and share a space. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that groups do not allow the students to submit work. So groups are a great place to access shared resources. So if your students don't need to turn something in, a group might be a creative way for you to collaborate with your team and let students be in a sort of in a big pot together. So all of the 8th graders could be in that one group together. And I might be wrong on the grade level here. So this is Drew Warndorf, and she's showing us how her team used a group in order to better collaborate together. It was definitely a response to the pandemic, but moving forward, this was another great practice that you could carry with you. I had the pleasure of sitting down with a building principal. So for a teacher talk, it was a bit of a twist on that. And that was Dr. Turpo, principal at Woodford Paideia. He showed how he uses Schoology and his staff to help the staff. He used all levels of Schoology. He had a staff course. He had a parent group. He used the school page and kind of how he tied together communication, resources, and then the fun stuff too, like recordings of a 6th grade graduation or different resources that he wanted the parents and students to be able to access. He would put that on there. So getting creative and outside of the box, you might want to look at like, what does your school community do with Schoology to make it that all-in-one one-stop location for parents and families. I also, let me see, I don't want to leave anybody off. So we looked at the principal leading with Schoology. We looked at Drew Warndorf doing across grade level teams with Schoology groups. Co-teaching, so that could be a reading specialist, but that could really be any of you. And I definitely promote and advocate for teachers just in a grade level team, like all of the kindergarten teachers, to share their homeroom. You could even do it if you are non-departmentalized, if you're all self-contained. You could do it that you all share your reading course. You can link it together so that, let's say there's 2, 3, or 4 kindergartens in your building. All of them can get the same reading course by the teachers co-administering. So if you're wondering how co-administering works, you could look at Lindsay Lenoff's video right there. So the co-teaching model. Carrie's with embedding the Google Forms. I really love that, not just as a workaround for the pandemic, but just every day to keep things fresh. I pretty much embed everything Google, so not just forms, but docs, slides. I really like, I call it leveraging Google, the way Schoology and Google work together, and Carrie did a great job of showing her creativity. I showed you Clarissa's. That became one of my sort of secret favorite topics in the district was Bitmoji classrooms. I really love them. I think they're engaging for students, and they're creative, and they just bring to life this space on the screen. The other one that I did most recently is with Lauren Ratterman. She is using Seesaw in Schoology. And so really what that's about is just selecting the right supplemental tool for your students. So with kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, the submission process in Schoology can sometimes be a little cumbersome. Seesaw is a very user-friendly platform, but what you can see here is that she is using Seesaw embedded in Schoology. So again, her students, even though very young, are not just going straight to Seesaw to do their work. They go to Schoology. Schoology is our learning management system. And she ties together the assignment, all the pieces that the students need. Maybe it's a recorded video of the teacher teaching in the lesson. Maybe it's a homework sheet. And then Seesaw, they can just click on the visual, which is like right there where it says Seesaw there. They can click it, and it takes them into the portion of Seesaw to submit their activity. You can watch Lauren's video on Seesaw, and you can really transfer that to any platform. If you wanted to do it with Flipgrid, or if you wanted to do it with Google Classroom, you are empowered with the choice of what tools you use to best deliver content or to deliver instruction. And so sometimes our learning management system is great to start in, but maybe not the best place to end in. Or maybe you want them to go somewhere else. Instead of having them go to a bunch of different links or not being sure where to go, put everything in Schoology so that they can launch from Schoology and then go into your supplemental resources and tools. And so Lauren's video is a lot of fun to watch as well, just for how she set it up. A great model of chunking out and making it very student friendly. And so that's Lauren Ratterman. The last one, like I said, it felt a little weird sort of highlighting myself, but I really wasn't highlighting myself other than I got to be the teacher in the video. And that was the sort of term with this more recently. What I was highlighting was what I think are just beautifully done lessons by our partners at the Newport Aquarium through the WAVE Foundation. And so I know it's in K-3, I believe it's in K-5 or 6, but these lessons are created by, we call her Miss Erin in my class because she's actually an employee at the Newport Aquarium who did a virtual field trip with my kindergartners. And so they were thrilled. They feel like they know Miss Erin. And so that was a really fun way to engage them. And then to jump ahead into the content that she put into Schoology, you can just pull that content right into your course. It is as close to plug and play, like just pull it into your course and you can pretty much teach it directly off the screen. So if you were looking for elementary science lessons, a really cool thing that Erin did was work with our Office of Curriculum and Instruction, and she aligned the science, and she didn't do this on her own. Our science map is already aligned with Wit and Wisdom and math, like the core topics. And so these science lessons happen to complement really well whatever's going on in the pacing guide with Wit and Wisdom or the skills that are going on in math. And it's not all a perfect pair up, but it's pretty close. And so the lessons are beautifully done. They're easy to navigate. My students had a great time. This was the first time my kindergartners used a Schoology assessment, which was a very new tool for them to use. They had been using Flipgrid and Seesaw all year when they did have to respond to something. And so the science lessons is the first time I had my kindergartners interact with Schoology item types like materials. Everything else I do in Schoology, I do in a page. So, so that is my teacher talks videos. Now the live portion of it is, instead of you watching those videos in your own time, I wanted to give you a quick high level highlight of each of them. And then I want to open it up for questions. So right now in the chat, you could pick one of the topics you just heard about. And if you want to know what they are, here is a link to my Teacher Talks playlist. And actually, let me just get the playlist link. Where is it? Oh. There it is. So view full playlist. Okay. So I'm going to share the playlist with you guys so that you can look at the topics. All right, you can click on that and then you can look at those topics. I'll just read them off to you again so you can decide which one you want to ask a question on. But that's the live aspect of this. So instead of me just telling you about something, I want to live answer your questions. So your question could be, how did she do that? Or how did he do that? Or it could be about the product, the tool itself that you saw. This is a no agenda other than we explore what's in there, what teachers have shared with us, some teachers that I got to spotlight, and then we're going to live answer Q&A. So you can stay in at this point as long as you like. We are nearing the halfway mark through this session. And I know with it being the last session of the day, some of you wouldn't mind if we ended just a little early. I think exposure to the fact that other teachers might be doing something a little differently than you've tried is a huge win. So if you get nothing else from this session other than being inspired to try something a slightly different way, or maybe add one layer of something else on, maybe invite your reading specialist to co-administer your course with you, or maybe try a Google form as a new way to ask a question in your class, but embed it in Schoology. You can watch any one of these videos. They're anywhere from 5 minutes up until, I think the longest one is, almost 14 minutes. But they're all fairly short. So the topics, They were making waves with the CPS science lessons from the Wave Foundation. Seesaw integrated into Schoology. Virtual classrooms, aka Bitmoji classrooms. Embedding it, this one, the title is Adapting Schoology Course, because she changed the way she had things delivered, but it's really about integrating or embedding Google products. So Google Forms, Google Slides, Google Docs. The next one was co-administration and how she did that. Not just how she set it up, but sort of why she did and what kind of content she did. Also how you could differentiate, how you can make specific groups for students. And then this was Drew and using Schoology groups as a space to collaborate and share either across your team or the whole building or for students as well. The last one was the principal as a digital leader. Well, I shouldn't say the last one, but the last one on the list was the principal as a digital leader and how a building can take advantage of, even if you don't do the staff, even if your principal doesn't want to do it, your building does have a school page. Your principal and AP can edit that, but so can up to 5 staff members. They just have to be, their names have to be sent by the principal to whoever it is at the Ed Center now. To get that done, I would send that to one of the Learning Technologies team members, and that's either Megan Safko-Preslin, Kimberly McLean, or Ashley Badgett, my former team. Don't send it to me. But they can make sure that you have your school page editors. If you don't know what the school page is, you can throw that in the chat as a question. So take a moment, jot at least one question that you have from any one of these videos. You can post more than one question if you like. I'll leave my screen sharing up, but I'm gonna stop sharing just that tab and I'm gonna share my whole screen because I think I'll probably end up hopping around a lot to answer these questions. All right, here we go. I see 2 questions already, so I'm just gonna read them off and answer them live. So go ahead and add your questions. From Teresa, I see, how do you know when to expand into a new tab or not? Can you still see all the students' work in Schoology? If you want to grade in Schoology, would you have to embed into an assignment or an assessment or discussion board or where? Okay, it looks like there's a few questions, a few different questions here, Teresa. So how do you know when to expand into a new tab or not? Do you mean the content that's on the screen, or do you mean for you?
So like the students, when they're in there and it's embedded, there's that little arrow where you point out. I heard from one of them that it was harder for the teacher had said it was hard for them to grade something if they expanded into the other piece. But then it might be hard for them to see it without expanding.
So for the student, if we're talking about some Google items will display right in line, like this is a Google form and it did the display. You may not be exactly asking this question, but I'm going to kind of answer 2 at once. So let me just go into one other course. There we go. So there's a couple of things that I just want to make sure I'm answering well. Wrong folder. My bad. Sorry, wrong course. Where is it? There it is. All right, sorry, it was the one I had open earlier. I had closed it. Okay, there is an issue with some links in Schoology not opening. So even if this wasn't where you were going, this is something I'll just call out. How do you know when to expand into a new tab? This is an issue some students get because you give them a link. Now, ignore that this says it's for parents. It could be for students or parents. You can give them a link and then it looks like this and it's saying Google Drive refused to connect. Well, I just want to forewarn you that that is it's just a wrong error. Like, I don't know why they name it that way. It didn't refuse to connect in general. It refused to connect inside the frame. And so what a lot of people miss, and it's just not a well-written error message, is that this little pop-out button will give the student or parent, whoever's getting this error, the option to view it in a different tab. Now, I don't like that. And so what I usually do is instead of having it open with a link, I display it in an inline page, either like as embedded content or link out to it. So it's still doing the same thing. It's still opening in a second tab, but they didn't have to hit that extra button. And they didn't get that extra ugly little warning that something's wrong. Now, on the grading side of things, which
Wait,
another
so just a second. So if I don't want, so that error won't happen if you embed it in a page. How do you know what things have to be embedded into a page?
So a good rule of thumb is that PDFs, like, so if I look at this link, exactly what it is, right? This link is a PDF, but it is in Google Drive. So I look at my link on the screen, and so this is a very large frame because it's not just a PDF document, but it's sort of this whole space around here. It's opening within Google Drive. And if you were opening in the drive, you'd actually kind of see transparently behind here, you'd see the drive folders. It's just that it's too big for that frame inside of Schoology. So smaller items or embedded content will display better. So if I wanted to take that same item, for example, that is called Schoology Parent Step by Step. What I would do instead is I would embed it into some content. So I'm going to embed it right here as an example for you. And if you've got other questions, just drop them in the chat because I will answer any questions that I can today. But if I want to embed the content, so instead of it opening here, I just want to put it in the page. I can go into here. Now you do have to connect your Google Drive resource app in your resources first, but you probably all did that earlier this year. Again, the title is Schoology Parent Step by Step. So the reason I'm looking at that is because I can search my drive. And I'm just gonna, I typed it in the search box and there it is right there. I know it's a PDF. So I can grab that file, import. Now I can import it as a link. I like it as embedded because then it's sitting right there. Embedded Google content, and that does include the YouTube videos, displays like a preview window. Okay, this one's a video. This is what the embedded behind the scenes looks like. When you publish it, here it is sitting here. So there's that PDF. Now they can actually scroll through and see it, but it's tiny. It's a little bit more noticeable, this pop out button, than that other one was, way up in the corner. I think the most misleading thing that I don't like about this error is that it says there's an error, and there's not an error. It should just say open in a new tab, because if they go here, it opens. But doing this, it gets more unnecessary calls to the help desk than you can imagine. So display the content in line on a page or put it right on your item. Like if they're going to answer a discussion board, attach it right to the discussion board. If they've got to do a tester quiz, put it right on the tester quiz. Maybe you want them to read this notes guide and then answer questions on the quiz, put it right on the tester quiz. And to do that again, all I did was in any item type, whether that's a page, an assignment, an assessment, I just went to insert content, Google Drive resource app, and anything that's already in Google, I can just select it and import embedded. So when I import embedded, it comes in. I don't even remember which one that was right now, but when I hit create or save changes, there it is, and there's my slides embedded now. So I can embed anything. This is also similar to what Carrie did with her Google form.
Hey, Rosemary, I'm sorry to interrupt, but to add to that, sometimes my kids, when I add the Google Slides, they get like a message saying that I have to, like, I guess, allow them to see it.
Yeah.
How do I get them
I have
to
a
see
training called Leveraging Scoogle. It is a full hour, but it's kind of worth the watch because Schoology and Google work really well together, but there's a few shortcuts that will save you and your parents time, because you also don't want, even when you share it with students, like share it within CPS, parents can't view it. So if you in your Google Drive in the behind the scenes setup just create a folder that you put all of your Schoology stuff in, all of your Google files that you're going to use in Schoology, and just set the folder to the setting anyone with link can view. Then you're not going to get those errors anymore. And I could show that as well. I want to make sure I hit any other questions other people have, but I didn't hear that. Who was that?
Kyla Barnes.
Kyla, thank you. You are so right, and it is solved by some back-end setup. So if you set up your Google Drive folder with the permissions anyone with link can view, that immediately eliminates that problem.
So if we have,
thank you.
If we have folders for Screencastify's and WeVideo and stuff, if we just go through all of our folders and set it to anyone, the link, would that still work?
No, this one I will share with you what I do, because I would never do that. That takes too long. That's too manual. We're going to do it in a shortcut. What I do, this is in my Leveraging Schoology training, which I will probably share again this summer at the Innovative Practices Conference, because I really think it's probably one of the most powerful parts of Schoology is the way that Google interacts with Schoology. So you can be on the lookout for my session, Leveraging Schoology. But I make a folder and I call it might actually be, there it is. I call it My Google Drive Assignments Universe. I made one folder. Now, why did I do that? I made a folder and I named it My Google Drive Assignments Universe. It really is related to using the Google Drive assignment on an assignment, but this applies to anything I do in Schoology with Google. So I would make that one folder, and then you can just drag your Screencastify videos up into it. You can drag any folder that you already are having student access errors with. And if you just apply that rule, and I'll show you my rules I have set on this folder. So you do that through the sharing feature. You can set your rule for the folder. So the folder is anyone on the internet with a link can view. Nothing else. So this has nothing to do with what the students will do with your document, but it eliminates when you have embedded content. It eliminates parents not being able to see it, or students not being able to see the content, maybe if you've just got a sample up. And so that folder becomes sort of my master folder, and then I can collapse everything else into it. I can show you a folder hierarchy in my Meet recordings. I have a folder that's only shared with my students, and so it depends on like how you set the link. So for this folder, I'm only sharing it directly with my students, and I do restrict it. So it's sort of the opposite. But if you want your students and parents to be able to see everything, Teresa, don't set it on every folder. Make one master folder and drag all those folders in, because then you create the rule once. And when you put another folder in, the rule applies like an umbrella to everything inside of it.
Okay.
Save yourself some time.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, let's see who else. I see lots of questions. Alyssa, I'm really looking at making the technology platforms more accessible and user-friendly for kindergarten. Yay, Alyssa, we should get together. Do you think adapting Schoology courses or Seesaw would be better? I say you use them together. I use Seesaw as a way for my students to do the learning journal. It's so much easier for students to click on the little green plus sign, and then the really chunky tools are right there. I'm in love with Seesaw. But Seesaw doesn't exist on its own. Nobody in my class gets directed to go to Seesaw and work on this. It's tied to the lesson or to the content. Now, for ease of access, Alyssa, I'm with you. And when people come back later, I want it to be easier. So in Clever, I manage my links where I say, here's where we do our learning. Here's where we show our learning submissions, right? And so I do in Clever have a quick shortcut. They can jump into Seesaw if they want to. But that link doesn't exist without context. If any of you have ever joined my previous trainings, I always talked about you need to have context with all of your content. So there's not ever going to be a link to a Seesaw activity that's not rooted to an assignment somewhere in Schoology. And it's not complicated. You can pull in a district lesson, but then at the end, when the district lesson says to write a discussion board, it's like those discussion boards just aren't very K-1-2 friendly. So I want Seesaw. So instead, I just snip the Seesaw logo, and then I link it, you know, where in Seesaw where you can share student link, I link that to that picture, and boom, they just in Schoology click that and they go right into their Seesaw. It's easy, it works across the iPad or a computer, and it's a great way to use both tools. But remember, Schoology is our learning management system. So manage all the learning in Schoology. But Seesaw and Flipgrid and Google Classroom are all great supplemental tools. Link to those in Schoology. All right. Teresa also asked, do we have a school Epic account? Epic is free, so it is in Clever. You set it up with your Google account. You can set up your teacher Epic account, and you can put it in there for your students. So I have Epic. Whoops, that shouldn't have happened. I have Epic in my extra practice links. When my students click this link, they go straight into their student one. I keep my Get Epic Books code there. When you're a teacher, it gives you code to share, and I just keep it as part of my Clever title so that every now and then I've had somebody not sign in correctly, or maybe they weren't using it when I launched it. And so Epic is a free approved supplemental tool for reading. So there's not anything to buy with Epic. If there is like a paid version of Epic, you don't need it, not from what I've used this year.
And also, Rosemary, that is, we are doing our Rosie Reader program through Epic now.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
And yeah, there's so much still I have to learn. It's so nice to see you.
Same here.
Yeah.
I watch all your videos. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Well,
I
I wanted to do this topic today because I feel like it was my job to share what all of you teachers are doing well. And I know it's only like 9 videos, but still, there's just so much great stuff out there from other teachers I wanted to share. And Ashcraft, I can explain what Seesaw is and how to use it. Sorry. Sally, you asked, how did you say you could be followed on your YouTube live talks? So you can follow my YouTube channel, and anytime I post new content, it will, it's just like any other application. You can select if you want to get notified. I have some people I follow that I do get notified on if they post new content. This is just my YouTube channel. I've got a featured video on the front cover about using the Bitmoji Classroom through embedded content. But then like the videos I've shared from today, you can just, they're right here. I have 2 more this afternoon I'll add later. And then these are just my videos on my channel in general. So to do that, you just literally hit subscribe with the link. I'll drop it here. If you subscribe, you'll get to see videos. Yeah. All right.
Hey, Rosemary, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
One thing with Epic, if the kids use it after 3 o'clock, the parents need to have a login.
You are right, and that is in your teacher Epic settings. Thank you, Kyla. Thank you so much for reminding us of that. With me being a fully remote teacher, I too often think about what happens during the school day, but good call, good call. And that again is just in your Epic teacher account. You would have to get the parent codes for after hours. Great call, Kyla. All right, what Seesaw is and how to use it. I would love to. I love Seesaw. Okay, so Seesaw is basically an online learning platform, kind of like Google Classroom. Seesaw has a different approach. It is primary friendly. And so kids put together a learning journal. Now they just do that by hitting this very big and obvious green plus sign button. So it's super easy for kids to add to their learning journal. Once they do that, I'm going to go into one of our activities. Ignore all of these instructions. I would never, ever, 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 if I was in a blended or even face-to-face classroom, put all this text on the screen. This is for my students in my fully remote program where their parents are guiding them through. So this is not a good example of a Seesaw lesson. But I want to show you what kids see when they click down that green plus sign. They get these, I like to call them chunky buttons. And what I mean by that is on Schoology, everything feels like this tiny little link that you've got to hit. But we've got to remember these tiny little hands and fine motor skills, and just even getting the cursor moved around or using a finger tap on their iPad. It's just not real user friendly when it's like submit button is, you know, this big. So I like to call these, they're chunky buttons. And this is how students submit. So they can either take a photo, they can draw a picture, they can do a video, which is my favorite response type from my students. They can also upload a file, they can write a note, or they can link out to something else. What my parents love about this is that they can do it from their mobile phone really easily. So sometimes my students have worked on something at home and they're going to submit a photo or video, and their parents can just get their mobile phone out and open Seesaw. If they're already logged in using their Google account, then it stays logged in on the app, just like most apps stay logged in. So especially if the parent only has one primary age student at home, it's super user-friendly to use from the phone. On the kids' iPads, or in my case, my school uses computers for K1. I'm looking forward to using iPads again if I'm elsewhere next year. But on their iPad, since they have a one-to-one device, they're always just logged into the app. So they can use their chunky buttons to submit something. I do have one kiddo whose parent has said I can share his work for professional, like for training. So I'm going to open up his and just show you some of the creative aspects. So he recorded a video of him telling me about what he learned in here. Other videos, they can draw on the screen. They can just have fun with it. But then they can also, like, I put in assignments. So this is our math module 26. It was due on Friday. So they can just take a picture of their work. They can do the video. This one was an ELA written work for the week. So they have to turn in written work every week in our program. I have them do it in Seesaw. We have another program at my building, but I don't love it for submissions. And parents all loved Seesaw better when I started using that. And so, so then I can comment on it. If I wanted to, I could even put a video in there. It's sort of a workaround. So think like Flipgrid, not quite like Flipgrid, but more robust, because what it does is create this learning journal where over time, and I've just talked with another parent about this the other day. Back in October, I said to parents, you are going to love it when we hit May and you go back to, you know, your child's submissions from October and see just how far they've come. Not just how they speak, but how they write, all of that. I love the Seesaw Learning Journal. My next plan with Seesaw is I'm going to be incorporating it into Schoology Portfolios, because Seesaw, two ways it can follow them. The parent can download the child's whole journal, and the journal will follow them into, like, if they go to another classroom, it can actually like be that they can still access mine. But if we use them in Schoology with portfolios, that's how I'm ending my year this year. My kindergartners will take their Seesaw journals and their favorite Flipgrid posts and their favorite lessons from Schoology, and we're going to put together digital portfolios that will follow them from K to 12. So I love learning journals and portfolios. In my opinion, Seesaw is like a living portfolio or journal. By the way, just some quick to Ian, what Seesaw is, it is free. There is a paid version. I see no need to use the paid version. I have used both the paid version and the free. There are some awesome upgraded features in the paid version, but because we have an LMS and I don't really need them, like I don't need to schedule an assignment because I put it in the folder when it's due in Schoology. I don't need to return work in there because I can just make a comment and jot that in my gradebook. I don't use any paid features of Seesaw, but if you wanted to, more power to you. It's only $12 a month. So as far as me, I used to say in these type of trainings, I'll never tell you to buy anything. For me, I'm back in the classroom now. I would totally buy Seesaw if I thought I needed to, because $12 a month, I can swing that, but I don't really think you need it, the paid version. All right. Thank you for the compliment, Lorraine.
I had to put that $12
Oh, you cut out.
I think that
What'd you say, Teresa?
I think that Padlet is definitely worth a $10 a month.
Yeah.
The
And I think
amount
that's
that you
why I
can do on
still stay on
Padlet.
the free stuff, because if I got every subscription I wanted, I'd be spending $200 a month. So I find ways to use the free stuff. Teresa, where's the Schoology portfolio? I'll show that next. Susan asked, oh, that's Ellen, or no, Susan? Miss Malloy from JP Parker, right? Do you mean if they click on the Seesaw app on their iPad, they're always logged into the Seesaw app? Yes. Well, they do have to initially sign in with Google. It should stay. It should kind of stick just like on your iPad or iPhone. Facebook stays logged in. Seesaw should stay logged in. If it doesn't, if it times out, and I could be wrong about that, they just need to tap on their own name again. But the Google account should stick as well. And that, I've got some stuff in my videos on the pre-K to 1 iPads. I've got a full hour video, but I've also got a 5-minute for that as well. All right, so Schoology Portfolio, since there's not another question in the chat, I'm gonna hop to that. If you have another question, just go ahead and drop it in the chat. Schoology Portfolios, you may not know this, but you all have one. So to access your Schoology Portfolio, all you simply have to do is on the drop-down arrow by your name, you click on your profile. Now this is you accessing yours, because I do believe we should model what we do, so I would make my own portfolio first. So underneath your profile is your portfolio. You might not have known it, but you also have a blog. Now, all of this stuff takes extra time from our lives that I don't have. So I really thought I was going to be a blogging teacher when I first started. You can see the last time that I blogged was my first day of teaching at CDA. So I didn't get back into the blogs. But the portfolio for the end of the year, I want to do that as sort of a culminating project for my class. And so I've got a couple sample portfolios I made here. But this is all the same instructions that you'll do with your students, or that you'll create if you're a K1, 2. I'd create a set of parent instructions and I'd make this a homework assignment. So we're going to click on New Portfolio. And then it is as simple as following the prompts on the screen. You can click here to add an image. And what's nice for K1s is they can access the camera and upload an image, or other age students could just upload an image. All right. I'll cancel that for now. Then you add portfolio items, and this is where K1, they probably need a grown-up's help. Maybe 2 also. 3 and up, they should be able to do this. They can go into assignments they've submitted. Oh, where is it? Should have been opening it, but no, it's because I'm in too many classes, so everything's going to take too long. It'll just pull up the courses that they're in, and they could go in there and pull an assignment. I'll show another way to do it that's easier. Let me hit cancel for now. You can go you or your students can go into courses you're in. So, hey, everybody, if you finish Distinguished Educator Level 2, or when Level 3 comes out today, you could put that assignment submission in your portfolio. So that could be something that you add. But your students can add anything they've submitted. So I'm going to hit cancel because I don't want to add a submission right now. And then the rest are super easy, just a file, a link, or a page. So they can build a page in Schoology, kind of just like how you do when you're creating your course. They can make their own page. It's taking a minute to load. Must be because we're all on Schoology right now.
I noticed I only have one of my badges. The other badge isn't in there. Who would I talk to about that?
Which badge? Level 2?
For Distinguished Educator, yeah, Level 2.
You probably just didn't download it. It was the next step. Because if you passed, then in courses, Office of Curriculum and Instruction, in Distinguished Educator.
Okay.
When you were finished with the program, so you do have to look through Level 1. Stage 3 is open. But then, like after you've did it, do you see it says congratulations, download your badge? It's just that unlocks after you pass. So you just go in and get your own badge.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know why this is taking forever to load, but let me share this with you. I would not build in Schoology if I was going to build a portfolio item. I would build it. Oh, it finally did it. Okay, kids get this as well. So it does have all of this stuff. I still wouldn't have my kids do it. I'd have them do it on a Google, probably a Google slide or a doc. Or for kindergarten, I'd use a Google drawing and just have them add that. So that is the portfolio. Now, how do I get to my kiddos? I'll show you that. my students' portfolios, you might be wondering, well, that's great, but I can't log in as every one of my students. You don't have to. If in your course you go to members on the left, if you click on a child's name, you can see their blog and their portfolio. So you can click on their portfolio. This is my grandson, William. He doesn't have a portfolio yet. That'll change by the end of the year for sure. But then you can view your students' portfolios. So I would, when I create my culminating project at the end of the year and do our portfolios for the end of kindergarten, I'll share that stuff out somehow with whomever.
Were you going to share an easy way to put an assignment into your portfolio?
Oh, yeah, thanks. Sorry about that. Let me go into a course. I think I'm going to need to go into a course as my grandson, so I can show you that. So actually, he will have something in there now. So I'm in as William. Oh, I'm in my parent account. Hold on. So I'm just going in as my own grandson. You could also have a parent that you have a good relationship with. You could always talk to them about, can I use your child's account to practice this? I would never do that with a family that I don't have a really good relationship with. Or you could use like a Gmail account and create your own dummy student account and just practice with that. Oh, I don't think I have William on here. So 1 minute. There he is. Okay, so if a student wants to add something to their portfolio from a class that they're in, let's say that he goes in here and he completes an assignment. I'm going to do it from, I don't want that one. I don't want a Google Drive assignment just yet. Let's see. Please don't be Google. Ah, it is. Okay, Google Drive assignments have a slightly different process, so let's pretend it's a discussion board. Like this. Well, let me go here. Fingers crossed. No, I use Google Drive assignments too often. I don't know how to do the submission off the top of my head, so just 1 moment. I just need a submit button. Here we go. So let's say that he's submitting his assignment on Schoology. And do you see what I mean by submit assignment and that little button? Why I like Seesaw better with the chunky big buttons? All right, let's say that he is, here's my assignment. I could spell right, but it's late. Okay, and actually he would put that in the create section if he's typing. Just gonna do that. And hit submit. And then watch this little button right here. This is the problem for primary and Schoology. It's so tiny. Look at that tiny little button. But it's letting you know that you could add that to your portfolio now. So he could create his first portfolio, and then once he has a portfolio, it would just ask him which portfolio, like if he has more than one, which one he wants to put it in. But it's right there. But that's the challenge for primary, is the tiny buttons in Schoology. So that little button, so easy to overlook for a little student. So
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. That is student portfolios. All right, I think we're at we've got less than 10 minutes left of this session. So for those of you who want to just end your day early, it has been a pleasure getting to share some awesome teachers with you and my live Q&A of how they did that or how we can do that as well. If you want to hang out, if you've got a lingering question that you want to get answered, I'm happy to stay a few extra minutes. But if you want to jump off and call this peace out end to a all right day, great day, I'm exhausted day, whatever the day you've had, if you want to hop out now, you can. There is an overall exit ticket for the day from the district. Be on the lookout for that. That doesn't come from me. Just make sure you fill out your exit ticket so you get your contact hours for today. All right, that's all I have for you. If there's extra questions, I'll hang out for a bit to answer them. You're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you guys for putting all the thanks in there. It means a lot to me. Taylor, I can help you out. You're still on. All right.
Rosemary, I have been working on some graduate work all year. I've told you about it before, where I was using Schoology for elementary and trying to find the best aspects of that. And I presented that today for a practice round. But I was just wondering where if anybody in the district would be interested in this work that I've created, and where I would go to maybe show somebody and see if piece of it could be used for other trainings.
Is it technology based? Like, so is it digital learning focused?
Yeah, it's using Schoology as an elementary learning platform.
So I would send an email to all three of them, because basically there used to be four of us. I saw my position posted like a week or two ago, so I know they're getting ready to have a fourth wheel back on the car. But it's Megan Safko-Preslin, Kimberly McLean, and Ashley Badgett. I used to be the fourth one. I do not need you to copy me on that, because I am fully enjoying my role as a kindergarten teacher. But one of the three of them should be able to help you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And hey, you know what? I totally lied. Just blind copy me if you want, because I'd love to see your work. I love this stuff.
Okay. Thanks.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Hi, Rosemary. I do understand that the district is going to give us the end of the day exit ticket, but don't we also have something specifically for your class?
Nope. I double checked with Emily Campbell herself, and she said, actually, let's see. I'll double check exactly what she said, just for a little peace of mind for you.
Okay, thank you.
Because we did used to do it for every session back when I was doing this as my full-time job. Okay. And I said, good morning, do they do exit tickets for each of the sessions or at the end of the day? She said, end of the day, have fun. So it's just the one exit ticket at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you so much, Rosemary. And I always appreciate your classes. You're very helpful and your spirit is really happy. And that's
thank you. Thank you so much. I feel, I came back to kindergarten and teaching because I felt like that's where I belonged, but I've always loved my work, and I feel so blessed, and just so I just always get to do what I love to do. And CPS is a real special place for when you have a passion and you want to do something. There's a lot of really supportive people in this district who will help you, get to what you want to do. So thank you for that positive feedback. But hey, put it in your exit slips, because I'm loving being a teacher, but I hadn't presented until just this March since I left. And I missed, today was fun for me. I've been presenting all day and I loved it. I need my PD also.
You in this role.
Yeah, well, I miss, I needed my professional development. So every Monday when you guys have been doing that, I've been in doing mine, and the other full day releases, I was either in with my staff or doing the district ones. And I learned so much this year. But I got a chance to flex my presentation muscles again today, and I liked it. It's like a good workout, a good swim in the beginning of summer.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Well, take care, Rosemary. Have a pleasant day.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Rosemary, I have a question.
Yes, so it's so good to see you.
I know, same here. Susan is here.
Yes, it feels like a little reunion of John P. Parker, and I just always crashed the parties back then.
That was the jumpstart with Google Drive, remember?
Yes.
So anyway, so what I did is I created my home base long time ago, and then I added all the resources on it. And I learned about Epic, so I put Epic on, and then I learned about Frackle, I put Frackle on, and then I learned about Seesaw. But now with all the resources, Great Minds in Sync, Foundations videos, Epic, and Geodes books, and all these links are there. I ran out of links.
Yes, so I've got an idea for you. So I'm about to really level up my Bitmoji classroom, my visual home base, and I'm about to change the whole way that I do it. So in the past, I had a static page, and it's not that I didn't learn how to do the multi rooms version, but you could set up a Bitmoji cover slide 1 being your home with links that it could just be ELA. And so the way that I'm planning to do mine is sort of like visualize your actual face-to-face classroom, which is easier for you because for me, I still don't have one. I'm hoping for teaching home soon. And in my classroom, I had the writing center over here. I have my library corner over here. I have my math wall where we did our math meeting. I have my word wall. I had all kinds of stuff around my board. Well, I almost look at that physical learning space as now how do I transport that to the digital? And so I'm going to have, it's either going to be a picture of a room or just larger icons, and that'll be my home landing page in my Bitmoji classroom. And then I can just click, or they can just click, and then within Schoology, I'm going to embed it. So I'll show you how to do that when I get there. But you make a whole separate page for your ELA links, and a whole separate page for your math links, and a whole separate page.
Okay.
But that you just add a reroute, a home button. And I can show you what that looks like a little bit right now. I haven't developed it for my classroom yet, but I could show you what it looks like.
Okay.
All right.
And then I really like Seesaw, but I think they have too many links and they have too many sites to go to. So I don't know.
Yeah, so you don't have to make it a different site necessarily. You can put it in your course. Let's first take a look at, I'm going to go into my actual course. And I'm going to go to, let me think. I think it was my last science unit. I don't know if that's in here. No, that's my current one. It's my last one.
Okay, so you did put your Clever in Schoology too.
My what?
Your Clever?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because I want them to always be able to hop right back to Clever if they need to.
Right. I need to do that.
Yeah, but this jump to, instead of just, I like them because they're chunky images, like big. They're impossible to miss.
Right.
But I am going to change it to a Bitmoji classroom.
Okay.
And it's going to look a little something more like, I think it's in here. So forget about the content that I'm showing you because it's not about the science content. Although this is a beautifully done unit. And since I'm still recording, I will just totally shout her out. Jessica Hughes at Hyde Park School. This was her creation. And I just she and I met and I just made it my own. But forget about the fact that this is space, okay? It could be you as the teacher, and here's science, social studies, ELA, math, and so forth, okay?
Oh, okay.
So all you do is create that bookshelf, that classroom, however you want to set it up. And then when they click on that item, they're actually just hopping. Do you see I went to slide 4?
Right, yes.
But then you just create a home button. They click back, they're back on slide 1. So then you can just click these buttons, and I got to think of the ones that are actually embedded. These are not. This one is. So they just click on that, and then they can go back to home, or I created a learn more button. I've got a couple more links in here. But anyway, all of the links in here have that home button, so they can watch the video, or this could be that. So you were saying you're out of space. Well, you could have a whole page just for your ELA links, and then click home. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah. And it just is a little bit more visually streamlined, because then if this was reading, math, science, social studies, then you've just got one slide, and then it's all reading on here. Click home, and then they can go to all math, and you can just keep it all linked together.
Right, because I am self-contained next year, so I will be doing all 4 subjects.
Yep. Well, hopefully I will be too. I don't know what I'm going to do next year yet. Transfer rounds just came out, so.
Did you see those yet?
Everything. Huh?
Did you see the transfer rounds? Are those here?
Yeah, they just came out today.
Okay.
Yep.
I might be looking at one.
Well, yeah. I am, because CDA was not ever actually created for it to be like thousands of kids going there. It's its own unique program for some good examples given were a child who's like a semi-professional gymnast, like who travels, and they need to just get online and stay on pace.
Right.
Or kids who maybe are experiencing hardships and can't make it to the face-to-face class, so they need a
Right.
virtual option. It was never intended to replace our general education teaching. And so when I came back to this role, and talked with HR and everything, it was really clear that that job probably wouldn't be there next year, and I was okay with that. But it was a nice bridge for me. So I'm ready to get back in a classroom though, so bad.
It was good to hear you today. You hear your voice, to see you, and it was amazing. I looked at I was like, no, I still have time. I can hop on that.
Great. I'm glad you popped in. It's so good to see you.
Thank you. Same here. How are you, Susan?
I'm good. I
I'll
just
stop the
wanted to,
recording so you guys can catch up.
but I had